Afternoon, everyone, and thanks to Professor Hedlow for this opportunity to share some reflections on this text, a text that I have something of a love-hate relationship with, having spent a very long time with it in my dissertation work not so long ago. As I mentioned in the chat, I am nervous. I don't think of myself as a preacher, and so even in preparing these words, just try to really reflect on the text, not even necessarily from my space as a scholar of this text and someone who wrote a very long paper on it, but just what's from my heart. And so I'm excited to share my heart with you this afternoon. But first, I'm going to pray because I'm nervous. Lord, may these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Many of you know the story of my crisis with this text, this flood story. I've told it a couple of times how I stood in a Target greeting card aisle looking for a baby shower gift bag and encountered this pastel cartoon image of pairs of smiling animals aboard a floating boat, a sort of jolly Santa Claus looking guy at the helm. And this was many years ago. And at the time, I had this instinct that this was not a children's story. And that led me down a path to explore just how this narrative of near total human annihilation found its way into children's literature and material culture. Right? It's a story that begins with violence and ends with death. So, how can that be a story for children? And my journey with the flood has paralleled my journey through motherhood. And the longer I've sat with this story, and the older my children have gotten, my son turned 7 on Thursday, the more I realize, no, there is something here for children, something important. Because even as we are confronted as grown-ups by greed and violence and apathy in our world, so too are our children. I was recently talking to a friend of mine who's a counselor at a local middle school in a nearby town that's widely divided among racial and socioeconomic lines. And she told me that every week she has students breaking down in her office because they worry that their parents won't be home at the end of the day because they'll be detained by ICE. And in the same school, there are middle schoolers who are dressing up as ICE agents for Halloween, and every racial slur can be heard in the hallways. So our children live in the same world, the same reality that we do. How can we guide them through this? Perhaps the same way that we always have. We tell them stories. And here is one story we might tell them. Raise your hand. This is participatory. Raise your hand if you love to draw. Have you ever started drawing a picture and it starts out great, all the right pieces and colors right where they should be, but then some of the lines that you wanted to be straight come out wiggly, and some of the colors that you thought would look good, they just don't seem right. And maybe you thought it would all fit on one page, but now it's starting to look crowded. How frustrating. It was going so well, and now it's a mess. Have you ever felt so frustrated drawing a picture or playing a game or following a recipe that you think, I just need to scrap this and start over? Well, God felt that way once. God created this beautiful world and made sure to place humans in it who could take care of the plants and fill it with more humans. But then things went wrong. The humans started fighting with each other. And instead of taking care of the world and each other, they hated each other and they let the world become a big mess. And this made God so, so, so sad, a sadness that God felt deep in his heart. Have you ever looked at the world around you and felt that way? So God decided to start over. And maybe that's not what you would have done, but that's what God decided to do. And that's a big deal. It must mean that things had gotten really, really bad. But you might think that God looked at the world and just wanted to crumple it up completely, and throw it out to hit the start over button and go back to the beginning of the game. But that's not what happened. God looked at the world and saw there is something here worth keeping. And so, even in God's very big sadness, God made a way for human beings like you and me and all the animals to stay in the game, to be part of God's start over. He gave instructions to one man, Noah, who was a good man, even when everyone around him was not so good, to build a big boat called an ark and fill it with every kind of animal. God used a lot of rain, 40 days and 40 nights of rain, rain, rain to reset the world. Noah and his family and the animals were kept safe in the ark, but everyone else was swept away. And that's also so, so, so sad. Gosh, this is a sad story, isn't it? Why do people have to be mean to each other? Why do they have to pollute the earth? Why did God have to hit that reset button? Why couldn't everyone come and be a part of God's new creation? So many questions, and it can make us feel sad or angry or frustrated when we don't have all the answers. Raise your hand if you've ever felt that way. What did you do? You might cry or shout or find a space to be alone for a little while. My daughter likes to draw what we call her sad pictures, and I brought one to show you. You might talk to a parent about it or ask your big sibling for a hug, or you might step away from all the sadness and try to find something to cheer you up. Listen to music you love, spend time with friends, or even step outside for a change of scenery. That's what Noah did. After the rain stopped, he opened the window to see what the reset world looked like. And even though he was sad and unsure of what to expect, Noah was also very brave. He looked out at all the water and thought, maybe it's not all bad. Maybe there's land out there. And he decided to check. He sent out a bird, hoping that it would find land, but it didn't. It came back. How frustrating. But Noah didn't give up. He sent out another bird, but it also came back. Two birds, no land. Was it even worth trying again? Maybe it was hopeless. No, Noah wasn't going to give up. He waited 7 days. That's a long time to wait. And then he sent the bird out again. And when it returned, what do you know? It had a leaf in its mouth, which means that there was land out there. The flood was ending. Not long after that, Noah and his family and the animals set foot on dry land. And God made a promise that he would never hit the reset button ever again. It was up to Noah and his family and the animals to take care of the earth and fill it with life. It's kind of a strange story. And even though it ends with God placing